Welcome back to Neural Intel. Today, we're diving straight into a new development in the world of large language models.
Sounds good.
We've got an interesting article from Amazon Science, published just yesterday, May 2nd, 2025. It details a method presented at ICLR 2025,
Okay.
and it aims to refine how we use human feedback to improve these models specifically, reinforcement learning, RLHF.
Right. RLHF, it's pretty crucial for getting these LLMs to behave the way we want. Helpful, accurate, not spewing problematic stuff.
Exactly.
And this article highlights a really interesting technical challenge with a popular RLHF method called DPO, direct preference optimization.
Okay, DPO.
Yeah.
Let's maybe unpack the core issue there. The article mentions spurious correlations cropping up during training. What does that actually look like in practice? Can you give us an example?
Sure. So imagine you're training a model using DPO to avoid toxic language. Now, in the data sets, you often find that the less toxic responses, the more thoughtful ones, they just happen to be longer. So when the model learns by comparing pairs of responses, one preferred, one not sought, it might start thinking, oh, longer equals better, or longer equals non-toxic.
Ah, I see.
It connects length with the positive outcome, not the actual reason, the non-toxicity itself. It's learned a correlation, but it's, well, spurious. It's misleading.
That's a really clear way to put it. Okay, so that leads us to SERA, SERA, self-reviewing and alignment. That's the new method.
That's the one.
Our goal today, then, is really to understand the technical side of how SERA tries to minimize these misleading correlations and make these direct alignment algorithms like DPO work better.
Exactly.
So let's lay the groundwork. Can you just quickly recap RLHF in general? What's the basic idea?
Yeah, basically, RLHF uses human preferences, what we like better, as a kind of reward signal to fine-tune an LLM.
Okay.
Think of like standard reinforcement learning, an agent gets rewards for good moves. Here, the rewards come from humans saying, I prefer this response over that one for a given prompt.
Yeah.
The whole point is to train the model to generate outputs that line up with what humans generally prefer: factual, safe, helpful, that sort of thing.
Got it. And DPO, you mentioned, is maybe a more streamlined way to do RLHF. The article says it skips needing a separate reward model. How does that work?
Yeah, that's a key advantage. Traditional RLHF often involves training a whole separate model. First, a reward model just to predict human preferences.
Right.
Then that model guides the main LLM's training. DPO cuts that out. It directly optimizes the language model using the preference data itself.
Sure.
It essentially trains the LLM to increase the probability of generating the response humans preferred in a pair and decrease the probability of the one they didn't. It's more direct.
Okay, that definitely sounds more efficient. Skipping a whole model training step seems like a big deal.
He can be, yeah.
But as we were saying, this directness in DPO, it has this potential technical downside, right? The spurious correlations.
Exactly. The main limitation the article points to is that DPO treats every single training pair the same. Well, whether a human strongly preferred one response or it was a really close call, just a tiny preference, DPO gives it the same weight in training.
Ah.
And this lack of, let's say, nuance can make it easier for the model to latch onto those superficial patterns, those spurious correlations we talked about. It doesn't know how much better one response was or why.
So going back to the toxicity example, if a slightly longer response, which still isn't great, gets picked over a short, really toxic one, the model might just register longer is better for that specific case.
Precisely. Even though the real goal was avoiding that toxicity, it learns the wrong lesson in a way.
Okay, this is where SERA comes in. So how does this method specifically try to fix this issue? How does it combat these spurious correlations?
Right. So it's laid out as a multi-stage process. The idea is to focus the training on the examples where the intended preference signal is really strong, much stronger than any unintended signals like length.
Okay, so stage one.
Stage one's pretty standard. You just do conventional DPO using your initial human-labeled data set. Get the model started.
So the basic training first. What happens next? The self-reviewing part.
This is where it gets interesting. After that initial DPO, you use the updated LLM to generate new pairs of responses for different prompts.
Okay, the model makes its own examples.
Exactly. And then, for each response it generated, the model assigns itself a preference score. This score is based on its own output probabilities, how likely it thinks it was to generate that specific response.
So it's judging its own work.
In a sense, yes. And here's the key part. It only keeps the pairs where one response gets a significantly higher score than the other.
Ah, filtering based on its own confidence.
Exactly. The article uses this nice visual. You keep the green pairs where there's a big score difference, a strong preference margin, and you toss the red pairs where the scores are too close.
That visual helps. Okay, so the model is building a data set of examples where it feels strongly about the preference. But how does that help with the original human data, which might still have those weak preferences or spurious correlations mixed in?
Good question. That's the next step. Sarah applies the same scoring logic, the difference in the model's output probabilities, to filter the original human annotated data set too.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it goes back to the human data and says, okay, which of these human label preferences does the model also strongly agree with based on its current understanding? It prioritizes those.
So it's refining both the self-generated data and the original human feedback, emphasizing the strong agreement points.
Precisely.
What happens then? You've got these two filtered data sets, the original filtered one and the generated filtered one.
You combine them, and then you run DPO again, but this time using this combined filtered data set.
Okay.
And the article even suggests this whole cycle can repeat. You generate, score, filter, combine, train again. Potentially, the generated samples become a larger part of the mix over time until the model's performance kind of levels off, it converges.
That sounds like a really, quite a clever iterative loop, refining the signal step by step. What's the underlying intuition? Why should focusing on these big score differences actually reduce the spurious correlations?
The core idea, basically, is that the signal you want the model to learn, like the difference between a truly helpful answer and a truly unhelpful one, that contrast is likely to create a much bigger difference in the model's internal scores
Okay.
than an unintended contrast, like just a small difference in response length.
Right. The real difference should stand out more.
Exactly. So by amplifying those big score gaps, Sarah is trying to boost the signal of the actual preference and tune out the noise from these weaker, potentially misleading correlations.
Makes sense. It's like turning up the volume on the important stuff. Did it work? Did they see real improvements in their tests?
They did, yeah. The results are pretty promising. They compared a Sarah-trained model against 3 baseline models
On what?
across 4 standard benchmark data sets. And the main way they measured success was the win rate in pairwise comparisons.
Where another AI judges the outputs.
Exactly. They use another LLM to basically judge which model's output was better for a given prompt. And the SOAR model consistently won more often.
How much more?
In some cases, the win rate was 20% to even 40% higher than the baselines.
Wow, 20 to 40%? That's substantial. That's not a minor tweak.
No, it suggests a pretty significant improvement in the actual quality and alignment of the output.
Now, using model-generated data, especially in a loop,
Yeah.
doesn't that carry a risk? Like
Yeah.
the model just reinforcing its own quirks or biases. Does Sarah address that?
That's a really important point, and yes, they considered it. The article mentions that to keep things stable and prevent the model from sort of drifting off track based only on its own stuff,
Right.
Sarah builds in a mechanism where the reward signal in each training round is also influenced by the model's performance in past iterations.
Ah, okay. Like keeping some memory of the previous state.
Sort of, yeah. It helps maintain consistency and stops the model from just amplifying any weirdness it might generate on its own. It keeps it grounded.
That seems sensible. Is Sarah something that only works with DPO, or could this idea of focusing on high-confidence pairs be used more widely?
They mention it's likely generalizable. While their experiments use DPO, the core principle, filtering based on the model's internal preference strength, could probably be applied to other direct alignment methods too.
Interesting. And who are the researchers we should credit for this work?
The paper lists Salik Sengupta, who's at Amazon Web Services, and Saket Dingliwal from Amazon's Artificial General Intelligence Group, both senior applied scientists.
Got it. And if listeners want to, really get into the weeds, the technical details, is there a paper?
Yes, the article points to their ICLR 2025 paper. It's titled Sarah, Self-Reviewing and Alignment of LLMs Using Implicit Reward Margins. That would be the place for the full technical deep dive.
Excellent. And just to help folks categorize this, what are the main technical tags for this research?
Let's see, large language models, obviously, LLMs, reinforcement learning, and contrastive learning. Seems fitting.
Okay, so wrapping up our look at this Amazon science piece, Sarah seems like a genuinely interesting technical approach to improving LLM alignment.
I think so too.
By getting the model to essentially help filter its own training data based on confidence, focusing on those strong preference signals, it looks like a solid way to tackle those tricky, spurious correlations.
Yeah, and the results they reported, those 20–40% win rate improvements, suggest it's more than just theory. It appears to translate into noticeably better performance, making the LLM outputs more aligned with what we actually intend.
Definitely promising. For listeners who want to dig deeper, we absolutely recommend checking out the Amazon Science article and that ICLR paper they mention. We'll put links up on the Neural Intel webpage. Link is in the bio, as always.
And this whole idea, it prompts a technical thought for you, our listener. Thinking about Sarah's mechanics, this focus on self-review and amplifying strong internal signals. What kind of new technical architectures or maybe even training paradigms could this inspire down the line for developing LLMs? Where might this lead technically?
That's a great question to ponder. Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this technical deep dive today.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon with more from the cutting edge of AI and ML.